Sometimes, life hands us moments that can change everything. We often don't see them coming, and sometimes, we might not even recognize them until much later. When I think about the paths we all take, I realize how much of our journey depends on the choices we make when faced with uncertainty. For many of us, the most daunting challenge is stepping into the unknown, taking a leap when we aren't sure where we will land. And yet, these moments, these unpredictable, risky leaps, are where we find our true selves. It's in these moments that we understand what we're made of, and we discover how far we're willing to go to achieve something greater. This story is a testament to the twists and turns of such a journey, from the pressures of just trying to pay rent to finding joy in making others smile. It is a story not only of fame and fortune, but of resilience, authenticity, and the courage to forge one's path in the face of uncertainty. In 1983, I found myself in Los Angeles, barely scraping by as an unemployed musician. I was in that phase of life where all I wanted was to make ends meet. I was doing whatever I could, filling out job applications, hoping for something, anything, to help me keep going. It was during this tough time that a friend of mine, Nicolas Cage, suggested that I try my hand at acting. He even went as far as to connect me with his agent. To be honest, I didn't understand why he thought I should be an actor. I still don't, to this day. But I was desperate, and I needed something to change. I needed a way to pay the rent, to avoid eviction, to survive. When life hands you the ball, you run with it, no matter how unsure you are of the field ahead. And so I ran. I ran without knowing where it would lead me, but I was hungry enough to keep running. It was never about ambition, not in the way people usually think. It wasn't about fame or becoming somebody important. It was about survival, about trying something, anything, just to stay afloat. That hunger, though, stayed with me. Not a hunger for wealth or celebrity, but a hunger to keep going, to see where the road might take me next. Long before any of this, my first passion had been music. I picked up a guitar when I was 12, and it became my whole world. I would lock myself in my room for hours on end, just playing, learning from records, teaching myself every chord, every riff. Music was my sanctuary, my first love, the thing that got me through the rough patches of adolescence. It was my escape from everything that was confusing and difficult about growing up. And while my path took me into acting, that love for music never left me. As I stepped into acting, I realized that my job wasn't just about playing a role or about what others thought of me. It wasn't about my public image or how people perceived me. What mattered most, what still matters most, is the ability to make others smile, to bring a little light into someone else's life, especially when they need it the most. One of the most rewarding parts of what I do is visiting children in hospitals, bringing a bit of joy to those who are struggling. There's something incredibly humbling about being able to put a smile on a child's face, especially when they're going through the toughest battles of their young lives. To me, that is the real reward of what I do, far more meaningful than any fame or success. I studied acting wherever I could, at studios, through books, from teachers. But what I quickly learned was that the best way to learn how to act wasn't by studying theories or reading textbooks. It was by doing. Acting, at its core, isn't about performing. It's about reacting, about being present in the moment. It's about connecting with the other actors, with the character, and most importantly, with the audience. It's on-the-job training. It's trial by fire. And through that fire, I tried to forge my own approach, to understand my characters deeply, to be true to them in every way I could. One of the darkest moments of my life was when my daughter was ill, and I found myself sitting beside her at Great Ormond Street Hospital. I've faced difficult times before, but nothing compared to that. It was the darkest period I have ever experienced. It also made my visits to children's hospitals even more meaningful. After seeing my own child struggle, I felt an even deeper connection to the children I visited, to their bravery, their innocence, their incredible strength. These kids, despite everything they were facing, managed to smile, to laugh, to be courageous. It's moments like these that put everything else into perspective. As my acting career progressed, I knew I didn't want to take the conventional route. I didn't want to be molded into what Hollywood thought I should be. I didn't want to be part of the formula, the same recycled stories and characters. I wanted to carve out my own path, to take on roles that challenged me, that felt right to me. Back then, I was still working odd jobs, pumping gas, printing t-shirts, doing anything I could to get by. And I learned a valuable lesson. Success and money don't change you. They reveal who you really are. Even after I found success, I was still the same person who had pumped gas. The work I did, the fame that came with it, it didn't change the core of who I was. There was a time when I was part of a television series that was incredibly popular. But during that time, I felt like I wasn't my own person. I was a product, something that was being packaged and sold to the public. It was uncomfortable, and it made me realize that I needed to take control of my career. When I left that show, I made a promise to myself that I would only do work that felt right to me. I wasn't interested in being a leading man just for the sake of it. If that meant taking on unconventional roles or turning down opportunities, so be it. I would rather have gone back to pumping gas than do something that didn't feel genuine. Life is unpredictable, and every single breath we take is a gift. But too often we get caught up in the little things, the car that won't start, the bills piling up, and we forget to appreciate what we have. We spend so much time worrying about the past, fearing the future, that we forget to live in the present. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned, the importance of the now. When I was a kid, we moved constantly, 20 different homes by the time I was 15. It wasn't easy, but it taught me to adapt, to find a sense of normalcy, no matter where I was. It helped shape who I am, and it gave me the ability to dive into new roles, new characters, without fear. In every role I took on, I wanted to lose myself in the character. I wanted to push myself, to do something different each time, to avoid repetition. When I got the opportunity to play Captain Jack Sparrow, I saw it as a chance to do something truly unique. I thought about cartoon characters, the way they could defy logic, the way they could be larger than life, and I wanted to bring that energy to Captain Jack. He was a character that allowed me to push boundaries, to experiment, to be bold. He could do things that I, as myself, never could. He could say things that I could never say. For me, creating Captain Jack was about stretching the limits of what a character could be, about bringing something new and unexpected to the screen. Captain Jack Sparrow was a character that I poured my heart into. I built him from the ground up, and I put so much of myself into him. That's true of all the characters I play. Each one has a piece of me, a part of my soul. And through these characters, I've always tried to be honest. Honesty is something I value deeply, both in my work and in my personal life. To me, there's nothing worse than being lied to, especially by someone you trust. And so, whether I'm playing a pirate or just being myself, I strive to be as genuine as possible. The joy that Captain Jack brought to people, the laughter, the smiles, that's what makes it all worthwhile. It's not about the money or the accolades. It's about the connection, about touching people's lives in some small way. Looking back on my journey, I've learned that life is not about following a script that someone else has written for you. It's about writing your own story, even if it means taking risks, even if it means facing uncertainty. Every time life hands you the ball, you have a choice. You can either drop it, or you can run with it. I chose to run, and I kept running, not because I was chasing fame, but because I wanted to see where the road would take me. Life is full of challenges, full of moments that will test us. But it's in those moments that we find out who we truly are. The value of life doesn't come from the material things we acquire or the accolades we receive. It comes from the connections we make, from the smiles we bring to others, and from the courage to live authentically. My hope is that anyone who hears my story will be inspired to take their own leap into the unknown, to stay true to themselves, and to remember that every breath we take is a gift, a chance to make a difference in someone else's life.